Imagine your testosterone like a campfire, not a switch, not a single flame, a living system. Feed it the right fuel and it burns steady, quiet heat all day. Starve it with stillness and it smolders. Same wood, less fire. Now here's the twist. You don't need a gym, you don't need a supplement, you need motion. Specifically, 8,000 steps a day. What happens inside your body when you make that your daily baseline? 8,000 steps daily is not a magic number. It's a practical dose of movement that pulls you out of the sedentary danger zone and into the metabolic active zone. Think of it as a minimum effective dose. Enough daily movement to trigger real biological changes without crushing your schedule. For most people, 8,000 steps is about 60 to 90 minutes of total walking spread across the day. That could be a morning walk, a lunch loop, parking farther away, pacing during calls, little deposits of movement that add up. Quick safety note: if you have chest pain, unexplained shortness of breath, dizziness, severe joint pain, or a heart condition, or if you're on meds that affect blood pressure, talk to a qualified clinician before changing your activity. And execution matters. Walk like you're building your body, not punishing it. Stand tall, relax your shoulders, let your arms swing, land softly. Keep your stride comfortable. If your feet, shins, knees, hips, or low back flare up, shorten the stride and slow down. Pain is data, not a dare. Now let's walk through the internal timeline. What changes first, what changes later, and how testosterone fits into the story. Day 1 feels almost too simple. But under the hood, your body is getting a memo. It hasn't received in a while. We're moving again. Prepare the systems. Your muscle cells burn more fuel. That means your mitochondria, the power plants inside your cells, have to raise output to keep up with demand. More ATP gets made. More oxygen gets used. More carbon dioxide gets cleared. You also create microtrauma, microscopic stress in muscle fibers and connective tissue. Tiny disruptions your body reads as a reason to adapt. Your calves may feel tight. Your feet may feel tender. Your hips may feel oddly awake. That stiffness is your tissues negotiating with a new workload. On the hormone side, walking rarely creates a dramatic testosterone spike like heavy resistance training can. But it starts improving the environment testosterone lives in by lowering background metabolic stress, improving blood flow, and reducing inflammatory noise. Your brain also notices movement. Walking activates rhythm and coordination circuits and feeds your nervous system constant sensory input from your feet and joints. Your endocrine system listens closely to those signals. The first 3 days are less about boosting testosterone and more about clearing the runway. By the end of week 1, the same steps feel smoother. That's the neural handshake. Your nervous system starts automating the pattern like a software update. Motor units fire with better timing. Your gait becomes more economical. Your muscles waste less energy braking and reaccelerating with each step. Less wasted energy usually means lower perceived effort. Now, the testosterone connection gets more direct. Testosterone responds to your energy status, sleep, stress, body composition, and insulin sensitivity, how well your body handles carbohydrates. Walking improves insulin sensitivity, especially when it's frequent. Each time muscles contract, they pull glucose from the blood with less reliance on insulin. Over time, your pancreas works less, baseline metabolic stress falls, and your hormonal background becomes calmer. Walking also often improves sleep quality. That matters because testosterone follows a daily rhythm, and a large portion of secretion is tied to sleep architecture. Better sleep doesn't guarantee higher testosterone, but it removes a common break. In week 1, you're not forcing testosterone up. You're making your system easier to run. Now, your tissues enter fortification mode. Your tendons, the collagen cables connecting muscle to bone, respond to repeated loading by increasing collagen turnover. Over time, they become stronger and stiffer, transmitting force more efficiently. Your plantar fascia, Achilles, and tissues around the knee and hip begin remodeling. Bone is listening too. Bones respond to mechanical strain. Walking isn't as powerful a stimulus as jumping or heavy lifting, but consistent steps can support bone maintenance, especially when they replace long sedentary hours. Inside muscle, the mitochondria story continues. You build more mitochondrial enzymes, specialized tools that speed fuel reactions. More tools means better fat oxidation during low to moderate activity. You may also improve capillary density, the tiny blood vessels that feed muscle. More capillaries means better oxygen delivery, better nutrient delivery, and better waste removal. Circulation supports endothelial function, the performance of your blood vessel lining, which helps regulate nitric oxide and blood flow. Here's the key. Walking can improve testosterone mostly by improving the conditions that preserve it. A large U.S. dataset found a clear association. Men taking more steps per day were less likely to have low total testosterone, and the relationship scaled with steps. That doesn't prove steps are the only cause, but it fits real physiology. One major mechanism is body fat. Fat tissue contains aromatase, an enzyme that converts testosterone into estradiol. More fat tissue often means more conversion. Over time, consistent walking can help reduce fat mass, improve insulin sensitivity, and reduce inflammatory burden. Less conversion, less interference, better signaling. This is a biological baseline shift, slow but meaningful. Pause for a second. If you've ever tracked your steps, comment your daily average, the honest number, no judgment. And if you're finding this useful, like and subscribe. It helps this kind of science-based content reach more people. Okay, back to your internal upgrades. 3 months is where walking becomes infrastructure. Your metabolism becomes a more efficient furnace. Many people see improvements in resting heart rate, blood pressure, and lipid profiles. Glucose control often improves as muscles become better at storing glycogen and clearing sugar from the blood. Inflammatory markers may trend down. All of that supports testosterone indirectly, because testosterone lives in a network. Chronic inflammation can suppress the hypothalamic pituitary-gonadal axis, the brain-to-testes signaling pathway that regulates testosterone production. Improved metabolic health can reduce that suppression. Weight loss is one of the most consistent lifestyle factors linked with rising testosterone, especially in men with overweight or obesity. Reviews and clinical work show that lowering body mass index often increases total testosterone, while also improving insulin sensitivity and reducing inflammatory signals. Aerobic training research supports a similar pattern. Meta-analyses suggest aerobic exercise can increase testosterone in men, particularly those with obesity or type 2 diabetes, while effects may be smaller in lean, already active men. In other words, the less healthy the starting point, the bigger the possible hormonal rebound. So, what does 8,000 steps do in real life? If you're starting from very low movement, 2,000 to 4,000 steps, 8,000 steps is a big shift. For many men, it can move you away from the low testosterone risk zone by improving body composition, sleep, stress buffering, and metabolic health. If you're already active, 8,000 steps may not push testosterone much higher, but it can stabilize it, like adding a protective shell around your baseline. Silent shields. Daily steps also act as a gateway habit. People who walk more often get more light exposure, break up sitting time, and tend to make slightly better choices without forcing it. Testosterone often responds to that whole ecosystem, not one lever. Walking is low risk, but it's not no risk. The most common issue is too much too soon. If you jump from almost no steps to 8,000 overnight, your feet and tendons may complain. Connective tissue adapts slower than your motivation. If your shins ache, your Achilles gets cranky. Or your plantar fascia bites in the morning, that's your tissue saying, "I'm behind schedule." Solution: progressive overload. Start with your baseline and add about 1,000 steps per day each week, or add 10 minutes per day. Let your tissues catch up. Second risk is the plateau. If you hit 8,000 steps but sit motionless the rest of the day, you may miss some benefits. Your body responds not only to totals, but also to breaking up sedentary time. Fix: movement snacks. 2 to 5 minutes of walking every hour can improve glucose control and keep joints happier. Third risk is treating steps like a testosterone replacement. If you have symptoms of clinically low testosterone, fatigue, low libido, depressed mood, reduced morning erections, muscle loss, get evaluated. Low testosterone has multiple causes, including sleep apnea, medication effects, and endocrine disorders. Walking supports the system, but it's not diagnosis or treatment. Finally, form and context matter. Bad shoes, hard surfaces, and overstriding can create pain. Choose comfortable footwear, vary surfaces when possible, and keep your stride natural. Remember the campfire? 8,000 steps is not you throwing gasoline on the flame. It's you stacking dry wood every day. It's you clearing the ash. It's you protecting the fire from wind and rain. Testosterone isn't just about muscle. It's a signal of readiness, recovery, and vitality. And daily walking is one of the simplest ways to tell your body, we're still in the game. No drama, no extremes, just a contract with your future self, signed in footsteps. So here's your question for the comments. If you committed to 8,000 steps a day for the next 30 days, what would be the hardest part? Time, consistency, weather, or motivation?